conducive work environment, right, for an organization. That's the thing. FM functions for an organization. They function within an organization, whether the FM is part of the organization, meaning it's an in-house FM, or the FM company is an outsourced FM company, right? They are not part of the organization, right? Well, whatever, which one, right? Okay. Basically, the job of the facilities manager is to create the most conducive work environment for the organization so that all the facilities that they have, right, including all of the support services, will be able to facilitate, become enablers to the core business of the organization, right? And in order for the facilities to support, to facilitate the core business of the organization, right, the facilities themselves have to be in good working condition. So of course we need to perform maintenance for these facilities, buildings, and whatnot, right? So building maintenance is part of the service, right, provided by the facilities management company or the facilities management department, right? Can facilities managers become building maintenance managers? Yes, they can. Can building maintenance managers become FMs? No, they cannot, right? Can facilities managers become property managers? That depends, right? That depends. Okay. Most of the time, no, unless okay, part of the service provided by the FM is collecting rents, leasing, and things like that. Then yes, okay. Can property managers become facilities managers? Again, it depends on the situation. But just to be on the clear side, no, right? FMs cannot be property managers. Property managers cannot be FMs, right? As they are. Okay, they have to make some additions, right? In order for them to be able to, function more, right? Um, yeah, so that's the situation. Okay, so FMs and property management are two different things. Okay, but most property management companies now, they are expanding their business, so they do include FM units, okay, in their company, so that they can also take on FM projects, not just ordinary property management projects. Okay, the same goes for FM companies. Some FM companies are expanding, so they also include property management units under them, so that they can take on property management projects, okay, not just FM projects. Okay, but as it is, no, they cannot perform. FM cannot perform property management work, and property management cannot perform FM work. Right? Okay, so the confusion is basically, right, as you can see, the overlappings, right? The overlappings, right? Because they are almost the same, all of them: property management, maintenance management, building management, asset management, and facilities management. They are almost the same, right? But they are not. They are very, very different from one another. So uh, the problem is because people tend to get confused when it comes to the function of maintenance, right? Because all of them offer maintenance service. So that is where they get confused, right? Okay. So to make it even clearer, right? Okay, I'll show you this. You can read this on your own, right? Okay, I'll just show you this one. Okay. Right now, this is the diagram that you see here is the result of a study that was undertaken, I think, in the year 2012 or 2011, right? It was conducted by UTM, okay, the FM lecturers, myself included, together with GFM Services Berhad, okay, which is the biggest FM company in Malaysia, right? It's a public listed company, so GFM Services Berhad, as well as MAFM, okay, the Malaysian Association of Facilities Management. That is our professional. It's not really a professional body because FM does not have a professional body, right? Okay, but it is like our society, okay, right? Okay, our society. So we collaborated and conducted a study, right, involving all of the FM companies in Malaysia, together with the FM departments in government sectors. Okay, so based on from the study, we found out that in Malaysia, right, these four uh, different fields that people usually confused about: FM, asset, property, and maintenance management, right? Basically, they do share one thing in common, like I mentioned, okay, which is maintenance, right? Okay, all of these companies, right, provide maintenance service, okay, and also contract management. Well, contract management is for the maintenance project, right? It's for the maintenance venture, right? So generally, it's about maintenance, okay. So maintenance, okay, that is the one that they share, right? It overlaps, okay, all four of them, okay. And then between facilities management and maintenance management, right, what they share in common, okay, the service that they provide that they share in common would be operations, plant shutdown, parts management, and task coordination and work order, right? So only those four, okay, overlap, okay. Apart from maintenance, of course, they share maintenance as well, but the other four, okay, overlaps between FMs and maintenance management. Okay, and between FM and asset management, right? Okay, the surveys that they overlap would be asset register and tracking and life cycle costing, LCC. Okay, right? So that is what they share, okay, between FMs and asset management, right? Apart from maintenance, right, as well as disposal and space planning. Okay, but the ones shared only between FMs and asset management would be asset registers and tracking and lifecycle costing. Okay, and then the ones shared between FMs and property management, okay, apart from maintenance, okay, it would be disposal and space planning. Okay, they share, meaning both companies offer the same service, okay, disposal and space planning. Okay, and the ones shared between asset management and property management will be acquisition and negotiation, right? So the rest, right, for FM, for example, right, event management, emergency management, environment, sustainability, disaster recovery, business continuity, supply chain management, complaint handling, safety and health, right? Now, these services can only be found within a facilities management company in Malaysia, right? For investment, funding and financing, taxation, appreciation and depreciation of value, right? For that one, right, those services can only be found within, right, in an asset management company, right? And when we talk about valuation, marketing, tenancy, leasing, rental, eviction, now those services are only provided by property management companies. And when it comes to root cause analysis, condition monitoring, equipment data analysis, testing and commissioning, and site supervisory, those services are only provided by maintenance management companies. Now, this is the scenario in Malaysia. I'm not saying that this is the right way of interpreting the overlaps, right? No. In other countries, right, there will be a different scenario. Okay, but this is a scenario that we have right now in Malaysia. I'm not saying that this is the right one. I'm just saying that this is what we have in Malaysia, right? Okay, if you look at other countries, right, they tend to have a different kind of overlaps, right? And the overlap that usually happen is only in terms of maintenance only. They have a much more well-defined function for each of these four disciplines in other countries, especially in the UK, the US, and Australia, right? They have a much more well-defined scope of services compared to what we have in Malaysia. In Malaysia, as you can see, it's a mess, right? There are so many overlaps, right? Still a mess, right? Not just when it comes to at the operation stage, right? Even at the design stage. In Malaysia, for example, there's always been a quarrel, well, a friendly one, but still a quarrel between architects and town planners, right? Okay, because architects can do whatever, can do planning as well, right? So and the town planners are complaining, why are the architects doing our job? See, so in the end, the solution was it came in the form of a regulation by the government, right? Where if an area is more than 50 acres, then you will require the service of the town planner. Okay, and the town planner is the one who has to sign the layout plan, right? But if it's less than 50 acres, then you don't need a town planner. You just need an architect, right? You just need an architect to do it, right? The architect can do the planning. Okay, so again, there's some form of overlap. Okay, landscape architects are even worse, right? Okay, architects can do landscape works. Even those nyonya, right? Pakcik-pakcik, apek-apek nursery, right? Those are selling trees, right? Okay, yang jual pokok tu, right? They can do landscape jobs as well, right? Ready-made design. Okay, so the landscape architects are really not happy with this situation. Okay, right? But abroad, right, they are more well defined. Okay, right. So it does not happen like that, okay, in other countries. But in Malaysia, it's still jumbled up. Right, but don't worry, for QS, nobody can do QS work, right? At least for now, right? But it's not going to change, right? It's not going to change, right? QS are well protected. Okay, right. Okay, now you may ask, okay, some of you may ask, right? You've been you know, following this subject for a few weeks now. Why does a quantity surveying student, right, need to learn or need to know about facilities management, right? Where do you fit in, right? Where do you fit in? Okay, now, firstly, for your information, right, okay, let me just tell a story, a little bit of a history, right? The first facilities management program, right, that we have, right, in Malaysia was in UTM, right? UTM is the first university to offer a facilities management program at the master's level. We do not have FMs at the undergraduate level, okay, right? We only have FM at the postgraduate level, okay? FM programs, I mean, okay? And the person who was responsible for initiating the FM program in UTM was a quantity surveyor. His name was Professor Madya, name is, he's still alive, by the way, right? Professor Madya, Dr. Maizan bin Baber, right? He was previously a professional QS, okay, a practicing QS, right? Okay, he worked at Pejabat Pengarah Kerja before it changed name to Pejabat Hartabina UTM. He was involved in the development of the Skudai, UTM Skudai campus back in the 80s, right, and 90s, right? He was involved in the actual development project of UTM Skudai campus. So he's a professional QS, right? Okay, he's a QS, right? And later in his career, he did his master's in FM, right? And after that, he decided that he wanted to chill off a bit and become a lecturer, right? And he basically proposed, right, for UTM to have the first FM program, okay, in Malaysia. So he basically did all the paperwork and everything, and what we have now is, well, we have FM in UTM, right? We have the master's taught course program, master's by research program, and PhD programs for facilities management. Okay, Professor Madya Maizan Baber. Okay, right. So that's number one. Okay, right. A QS, right? A QS who took a master's in FM, started FM, the FM program in UTM, right? And he's my teacher as well, right? He's my teacher. I learned FM from him. Okay. And then secondly, right? Okay, the function of a QS within the FM world would be, right, to handle cost management. Okay, because nobody is more qualified. Nobody is more knowledgeable when it comes to costing, right? Nobody is more knowledgeable than a QS when it comes to costing, right? Okay, so there are big FM companies like GFM, Berhad, Chulia FM. These are all big FM companies, Cofres and AMPM, and part of their companies, right? They would have their QS department. Okay, they would have their QS department, and the QS department's job is, well, is to handle cost management. So it also involves cost estimation, right? And and when it comes to outsourcing, right? When it comes to outsourcing, right, the outsourcing project, the contract for the outsourcing project, right, is usually being handled partly by the QS in the FM company, right? So FMs do exist in FM companies. You don't just exist in QS firms or contractor firms, right? Not just there, but you also exist in FM companies, right? You may not know it, okay, but the nature of the job will be different, right? When you are in a QS company or in a contractor company, then your job is more about dealing with construction, right? You're dealing with construction projects. But when you are in an FM company, then it's a bit different, right? It's a bit different. You're dealing with cost management for what? For support services, for example. For example, when the FM company wants to appoint, right? Let's say a maintenance contractor, right, for landscape maintenance job, for example, the QS, right, will do the cost estimation. The QS will help prepare the contract, right? The QS will monitor, right, the life cycle costing of that particular venture, right? So it's a bit different. It's slightly different. But when it comes to, for example, renovation, let's say the client wants to upgrade their facilities, right? Okay, the organization wants to make an upgrade. Okay, they want to renovate, for example, the lobby or whatever, like a hotel, for example, they want to, let's say, upgrade their rooms, right? So some form of renovation will take place, right? Some form of construction will take place. So in that situation, then the QS within the FM company will function just as the same as the other QSs, in the QS firms or contractor companies, right? You will function just as the same as them, right? But in other areas in FM, the function of a QS will be more on cost management, right? Cost management and yeah, right, dealing with support services and all. Right, for example, in UTM, okay, we do have our QS department in UTM, right, under Pejabat Bina. And partly their job is to, handle outsourcing contracts, right? That's partly their job, okay? Um, and oversee, the life cycle costs of the facilities in the campus, right? That's part of their job, okay, right? So just to put things into perspective, okay, so that at least you understand, okay, why am I taking this subject, right? Why are you taking this subject, right? Okay, because we need QS, right? We need quantity surveyors, right? Okay, particularly when it comes to cost management. Okay, I hope that's clear, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So so what you need to know now, okay, FM is no longer what it was, okay, about 20 years ago or 30 years ago, right? At least in Malaysia, okay, at least in Malaysia. Sorry, not in Malaysia, sorry, in other countries abroad, okay? Malaysia is still much the same because FM in Malaysia is still quite new, okay? But in other countries, okay, FM is evolving, okay, from a technical discipline, okay, because originally FM started in factories, in manufacturing companies, right? They maintain machineries, okay? That is the origin of FM. They started off with taking care of machines, right? Making sure that the machines are working. Or when there's a breakdown, then they would attend to it, right? Okay, but now, okay, FM has already changed. It has already evolved from a technical discipline into a business management discipline. Okay, so which is why you can find in other countries, right? Even not just in other countries, even in Malaysia, right? Other universities other than UTM, right? You can find facilities management programs, right? But they are not. They do not reside under the Faculty of Built Environment or the Faculty of Engineering, right? They reside under the Faculty of Business, right? Business Management, right? Okay, if you look at countries like, for example, in the UK, like in Heriot-Watt University, right? Edinburgh University, right? Okay, Reading University, FM sits under the Faculty of Business Management. If you go to, for example, in Batu Pahat, okay, University Tun Hussein On, right? Okay, UTHM, right? The FM program there sits under the Faculty of Management. Okay, but in UTM we sit under the Faculty of Alam Bina, right? Built Environment. Why? Because at that time, it was not Alam Bina yet at that time. Again, at that time it was still Faculty Alam Bina and Faculty JFO Masih and Harta Tanah at that time. Okay? That was the old name, right? There were two separate faculties at that time. Okay, and the only party that was able to appreciate and understand FM was those people under the Department of Property Management in the Faculty of Geoinformation and Real Estate. The other people from other faculties, right, were not able to, somehow they did not appreciate, they did not understand, right, FM. FM was still very new at that time in Malaysia. So the Department of Real Estate, Faculty of Geoinformation and Real Estate offered PM Dr. Maizan at the time to start the program, the FM program, under the Department of Property Management or Department of Real Estate. At that time, it was Department of Property Management, Faculty of Geoinformation and Real Estate. So which is why FM sits under the Department of Property Management, and now it sits under the Department of Real Estate after they changed their name, right? So after the merging of two faculties, so FM sits under the Faculty of Built Environment and Survey, right? But if you look at other universities, they do not sit under the Faculty of Built Environment or Faculty of Engineering. Any faculty which is slightly technical or highly technical, FM does not sit under that kind of faculty. FM sits under the Faculty of Business or Management, right? Because again, it has evolved, right? It has evolved into a business management discipline, okay? And also, FM has also evolved from being reactive and operationally focused to a more proactive and strategic one, okay? Now, the term reactive basically refers to taking action only when there's a problem. In other words, okay, if you've heard of this term, right, this is what we call as corrective or reactive maintenance, right? Meaning when there is fire, then we put it out. If there's no fire, we don't do anything. So it's corrective or reactive in nature. When there's a breakdown, then only then we will, repair, right? We do not take any preventive measures, right? Okay. Now, originally FM was like that. Okay, FM was very reactive, okay, and operationally focused, meaning FM only functions at the operational level. If you still remember, right, in the management of a company, we have the strategic level, tactical level, and operational level. So previously, FM functions only in the operational level, right? But now, FM has evolved into a much more proactive and strategic discipline. So rather than practicing corrective or reactive maintenance, FMs now practice what we call as preventive maintenance. Preventive, and up to a certain extent, right, they also practice predictive maintenance. So they can predict when do we need to perform maintenance, when there is going to be a breakdown. Okay, but currently we are more on the preventive part. Okay, right? Preventive maintenance, meaning we take periodic maintenance, right? Some call it as planned preventive maintenance. Basically, you plan, right? There must be a schedule. Okay, you perform roof maintenance every 6 months. You perform, for example, carpet cleaning every twice a month, for example, right? That is preventive maintenance. Now, before this, no, right? When the roof leaks, okay, then we call a contractor to repair it. That's it, right? When the carpet started to smell, then we call somebody, a cleaner, to clean the carpet. Otherwise, we don't do anything. Okay, so proactive, right? Meaning they are preventive in nature, and strategic. FM now functions at the strategic level of a company, not just at the operational level. Okay. And also now, FM sees buildings as dynamic entities, assets, rather than just liabilities. Liabilities basically means burden, right? Burden for a company, right? A burden that eats up money, okay? So FMs now treat buildings as dynamic entities, meaning it becomes a strategic resource for the company, right? An entity that can make money for the company, not in the sense like, it's like what the property managers do, right? Try to make money out of the property. Not in that sense, but what FM does is to make sure that the facilities, the support services, right, will be able to facilitate the core business so that the company can make profit, right? So the facilities, the buildings are basically where the companies operate, right? So how can the building, the premise, the facilities and all, right, can support the core business so that the core business can make profit? So that's how FM perceive buildings now. Not just building as liabilities. Building is a liability where we need to perform maintenance work, right? It eats up money, right? Okay. Nah, FM does not look at building that way anymore. Okay, right? So FM looks at buildings now as dynamic entities. They are assets. Okay, right. Okay, so in FM there are 4 components. Okay, which are very important. You have to memorize this. Okay, you really have to memorize this. Everybody who learns FM needs to memorize and familiarize this diagram. Okay, I cannot express how important it is, right, for you to familiarize this diagram. Okay, right? So there are 4 components in FM: people, place, process, and technology. Right? People, place, process, and technology. Right? So what does it mean? What does it mean? Right? FM does not manage people. Right? Okay, we have the HR department to do that for us. FM does not manage process. We have the operations manager, right, to do that for us. FMs do not manage technology, right? We have the technology manager to do that for us. Some call it as IT manager, right? But in a broader sense, right, it will be a technology manager, which is why we have the technology management program, okay, in UTM and other universities as well. FMs manage place, right? But in order for FM to manage place, he has to consider the requirements of the people. He has to determine or consider the requirements of the work process, because the work process is carried out by the people inside the place, and the work process happens inside the place, right? And technology. every place will have technology. Name it, escalators, lifts, they're all technology, Wi-Fi, right? And the work process itself requires the use of technology, which is used by the people in the place, right? So in order for the FM to manage the place, right, the FM needs to consider people, place, and technology as well, right? Consider the requirements of the people, the process, right? And the requirement of the process towards technology, the requirement of the people towards technology, and the requirement of the place itself towards technology, right? So which is why FMs basically, right, need to familiarize all these four. Now, if you imagine a company, right, a company has what? A company has the building, the premise, which is the place. A company has workers, which are basically the people. A company has the work process, meaning the business, right, the business activity, so the process. And of course, in every company, they have technology, right? Yeah, that's it. You can basically categorize, right, the whole company, right, by using these four components. Okay, so which is why the four components of FM are people, place, process, and technology. Right? The workplace can be substituted with a facility. You can substitute with space, right? It's basically the same thing, right? Okay. Okay. So now let's just recap a bit. Okay. Core business. Every company will have a core business, right? And the core business is basically the main business performed by the company, like McDonald's. The core business is selling fast food. University, providing teaching and learning service, right, at a higher level. Okay. Proton, sell cars. If Aeon, they make cars, they manufacture cars. Proton, they sell cars, right? And support services basically are services that help to facilitate the needs of the core business. They are services. They are not physical facilities. They are services. For example, cleaning, that is a service. Catering, that is a service. Photocopying, that is a service, right? For example, McDonald's, right? What is a support service for McDonald's? What are the support services required for McDonald's? Logistics, right? Transport, right? Because they need transport service or logistic service to deliver all the raw materials. McDonald's would require what else? Waste management service, right? They cannot rely on the waste management service provided by the local authority, because they only pick up our waste twice a week. That would do for McDonald's because they operate every day. They produce kitchen waste, right? They produce kitchen waste every single day, right? So they have to outsource, right, the waste management service to a waste management company, right? Okay, so that waste management service is a support service, right? What else? Building maintenance, right? Of course, they require that. Again, building maintenance is a support service for McDonald's, right? To make sure that the premise is in good order, in good function, right? What else do they need? The ordering system, right? Okay, the system that they use to handle orders, right? Okay, so that is a support service, right? Okay, those online systems, right? Okay, the ones with the touch screen, that we can just order by touching the screen, right? Okay, so those are systems provided by an IT company, right? So that service, the order system, is actually a support service for McDonald's, right? They are not physical facilities; they are support services, right? Okay, the system itself is a support service. Okay, of course, the board itself, the one that you go and press, that is the physical facility, but the system that it uses is a support service. Okay, so that is for McDonald's. University, that's a lot, right? Okay, accommodation service, right? For hostels, right? That is support service, right? The building itself, of course, the hostel itself, the hostel building, that is the physical facility. But the accommodation service, the party which manages the building, making sure that the building is in good working order and everything, right? Making sure that there's enough rooms, right? We have enough hostels and all, right? Taking care of the cleaning part and all, right? There is support service, accommodation service, cleaning service as well. There is also a support service. Library service is a support service for a university. The library building is the physical facility, right? But the people, right? The management of the library, that is the support service for the university, right? Landscape maintenance, that is support service, right? Transportation, that is support service, right? The shuttles, right? Those are support services, right? Of course, the building maintenance for the whole campus, that is a support service as well, right? Proton, right? Selling cars, right? Okay, so building maintenance is a support service to maintain the building, right? Transport, right, to deliver the cars to the outlets, right? So that is a support service as well, right? Sometimes, if the company wants to be more professional, they would outsource their customer service, right? So that they can get a professional, high-level, quality service for their customers. So when they do that, right, okay, then the customer service becomes a support service for Proton, right? Okay, so those are support services, okay? And building services, okay, you are very familiar with this, right? Right, essentials are basically they are physical services designed into a building as at the outset. Electricity, gas, water, telephones, IT, cabling, right? Those are all building services. Don't confuse it with support services. Support service and building services are two very different things, right? Do not get confused between the two, right? Okay, so now let's talk a bit more about support services. Okay, there are many types of support services, and the basic ones, okay, that which you can find in almost any organization. Okay, firstly, accommodation planning. That's number one, right? Accommodation, right? Accommodation planning. That is one, right? Sometimes companies they want to, they provide accommodation for their workers, right? So in order for them to provide accommodation for their workers, hostels and all, right, they need the FM unit, right, to manage that. So that is what we call as accommodation planning, accommodation management, right? Okay, that is a support service. Administration, right? Okay, that is another one. That is a support service. So just imagine a company without any administration service, right? So we need them. So administration service, right, is a support service. It can come in many forms, right? Okay. For example, financial management, that is part of administration service. But in this case, for financial management, it does not fall under FM, it falls under the Treasury Department, right? Bendahari, okay? Right? And some form of administration service is more on the more on clerical works, for example, right? More on clerical works, okay? Right? So this one usually falls under the HR department, right? HR department, okay? And sometimes, okay, there are other administrative service, right? For example, those who are handling projects, okay, they are not involved directly in terms of the running of the project, right? But they do involve in the documentation and things like that, okay? So this usually would fall under the FM department, okay? So whatever it is, right, doesn't really matter whether it's HR or FM or clerical works, right? What you need to understand is that administration is a support service. Puan Laili or Kak Laili, right, is part of the administration service. She is actually, if you want to categorize her department, right, her department is a support service department. Okay. Cleaning, definitely, that is a support service. Every company requires cleaning services to make sure that the office, the premise is clean, right? Okay. Communications, that's another one, right? That is a support service, right? Okay, look at TM or Maxis or Cellcom, DG, right? Okay, these are all support services, right? A company cannot function without communications. What else? Google, right? For example, for your emails, right? Or for meeting like this, Google Meeting, Google Meet. These are all communication services provided by the service providers, right? These are the service providers, right? So telecommunication is support services, right? How can a company function without communication, right? I don't know any company which has their own in-house communication department, right? Right? Even the biggest company in the world does not have its own communication department, right? They will get their communication service from a communication service provider, right? So in Malaysia, for example, would be TM or Maxis or Celcom or Digi or whatever, right? Email services from Google, if you use Google, like UTM, for example, we use Google, right? We use Google, right? For example, my email, izran@utm.my. Of course, right? The domain is utm.my, but the engine behind it is Google. It's actually Gmail, right? Okay, we just put a mask over the Gmail, so it becomes utm.my, right? But it's actually it's actually gmail.com.my, okay, right? The same goes with Google Meet, right? That is another form of communication service that we get from Google, okay? And UTM also uses Google Meet, and we use Webex, right? Okay, those things, right? Okay, so a communication service is a support service, okay? Health and safety management, that is another support service. Usually every big company will have OSH, occupational safety and health, right? Okay, so this is a support service. Property maintenance is a support service as well, right? Making sure that the property are well maintained. Records maintenance is also a support service, right? Usually there will be a specialized unit taking care of records maintenance. Records maintenance is about information, right? Uh, see, the problem that we have is that mostly our information is not not well managed, not updated, right? Okay, not well archived, right? And that is very difficult to access, right? Then when it comes to record maintenance, it's more about updating, right? Deleting all those redundant ones, okay? But this is a problem that we have. Okay, record maintenance usually is not performed, right? It is a support service that we require, but it is usually not performed. Which is why, for example, in UTM, right? Just look at yourselves. Okay, just look at yourself. Whenever you want to register for a new subject for a new semester, right? What do you have to do? Right, you have to key in your, you have to fill in your IC number, fill in your metric number, your name, of course, definitely, right? Okay, and then what else? When you want to open a new account with the library, right? Or you want to pay something at the Bendahari office, right? The Treasury office. Again, you have to fill in your metric number, right, or your IC number and your name and your address and everything, right? Whereby, okay, right, these information of your information, right, they actually exist, right, okay, all of these various places. They are redundant information because nobody is taking care of this information, right? The Treasury Department will have their own database on you. The library will have their own database on you. The faculty will have its own database on you, right? Okay. So these are what we call as redundancies, right? Okay, for information. So good records maintenance means that we eliminate redundancies. So we need to have a centralized system, right? A centralized system where the Treasury Department or the library or whatever, right, can just get the information from one single source. But that's not happening, right? That's not happening in UTM right now. Okay, so we tend to have redundancies, right? Like myself, for example, right? This is how bad the situation is, okay, right, in UTM when it comes to records maintenance, right? If I were to key in my name and my IC number, right, in UTM, right, well, let's say, for example, in the library, okay, or Pejabat Bendahari, right, okay, there will appear two Izrans there in the system. There will be one Izran, which is the senior lecturer, and there will be another Izran, which is the same, biologically the same, exactly the same person, right, but a PhD student. They still have not eliminated, right, deleted, right, the information of Izran, the PhD student, right? So I usually have a problem. Right? I usually have a problem whenever when I want to borrow a book, for example, from the library. I have a problem, right? Am I Izran the student or Izran the senior lecturer? Right. By the way, I do not have any outstanding fees, right? I don't have any penalties, right? Outstanding, no, right? So now they get confused. There are two Izrans, Izran the lecturer and Izran the student. Right? So I told them, Izran the student does not exist anymore, right? So you need to delete that, but nobody is doing that, right? So records maintenance in UTM is very poor. It is very poor, right? Okay, and that is very important, right? Cost maintenance is very important. When you do not update your information, right, then you're going to cause lots of problems. Okay, and that, not just in terms of the attribute information. When I say attribute information, meaning information in the forms of text and numbers. Okay, that is what is meant by attribute data or attribute information. Okay, but also spatial information or spatial data. For example, floor plans of buildings, right? Okay, basically the building plans, right? Section drawings and all. Okay, right? So this is another problem. Okay, because many organizations, they do not keep and they do not update their building plans. And whenever we want to perform any renovation works, we want to do some extensions perhaps, right? Then we have a problem. Why? Because you do not have the original plan to refer to, right? You can't just simply, okay, break this and break that without referring to the original plan. Look at the structure, where is the column, where are the beams and all, right? You have to refer to those things. So again, we don't have that, right? We don't have that. Okay, UTM is one again another example, right? Right. Yeah. To put things into perspective, yes, the buildings in UTM are quite old, especially in the old area of the campus, right? Okay, like our faculty Al-Albania, for example, is the oldest. Okay, faculty Al-Albania and faculty J formation, the C blocks, right? Okay, but we are now, of course, again, it's called FABU. FABU is basically the oldest, right? The oldest faculty building in UTM Skudai. Okay, they are the oldest faculty building in UTM Skudai. The other buildings are quite old as well. Okay, and those, for example, College Tun Fatima, right? Tengku Rahman Putra, is it right? Okay, those two were the first hostels in UTM Skudai, right? So yeah, they are quite old, more than 30 years old, right? I think it's more than 30 years. They were completed in the year 84, I think, 83, 84, 84, 84, yeah, 84. No, sorry, 85, right? So like what? One, two, yeah, it's been like 30 years now. More than 30 years, okay? So um, we do understand that it's going to be quite difficult, right, to make sure that the archiving of those plans, right, are in good order. But whatever it is, right, they need to take care. They need to manage, all of the information, right, including the building plans. And right now, okay, when you ask for the plans are either misplaced, we don't know where the plan is, or the plan is not updated. Renovations have been done throughout the 30 years, right? Renovations have been done. Unfortunately, they are not updated from the original plan. And now, let's say if you let's say if you have the original plan, right, you bring it to site and you compare it with what you have right now, okay, well, basically it looks different, right? It's different already. Okay, so which is why again record maintenance is very important, right? Updating, right? We need to update information. Unfortunately, we don't have people doing that. Okay. Okay, security is another support service, right? Of course, required by any organization, right? Whether it's in-house or outsourced, but security is a support service, right? In UTM, for example, the security service is an in-house one, meaning our security service in UTM is part of UTM itself. All those security guards, all the park guards that you see, they are all UTM staffs. UTMs are the ones who pay them the salary. UTM will give them all of the incentives, all the allowances, right? And when they retire, they will get their pensions, right? Okay, they are the same as me, basically, the same as the lecturers, the other staff. They are permanent, full-time UTM staff, right? Those park guards, okay, right? But in other places, right, the security service is outsourced, right? University Malaya, University Kebangsaan, University Science Malaysia, most of the other universities outsource their security service, meaning, right, those security guards are not part of the organization. They are not staff or UKM staff, right? They are just staff of a company, right, which provides security service for or UKM, right, for the organization, right? So security is a support service, okay, right? And car fleet control, right? Catering service, that is support service. Contract control, right? External property administration, right? This is for any properties owned by the company, by the organization, but it's not situated within the premise. It is elsewhere, right? For example, at UTM, we do have lands other than just in Skudai. Okay, we do have lands in Desaru, right, in other places, right? So these are our properties. We do have buildings which we own in Danga Bay, but in other places. So these are UTM's properties, right? What else? The Petronas in Skudai, next to McDonald's, right? Next to Burger King, right? The Petronas, which has Burger King, right? The ones that are very near, right? If you're familiar with that, right? Okay, that Petronas belongs to UTM, right? UTM is the owner of that petrol station, right? Okay, so that is the property of UTM. So there must be a department which manages these external properties, right? So there is a support service for UTM in that sense, right? Internal and external landscaping, right? Of course, right? Internal meaning in-house, meaning inside the building. External meaning outside, okay, right? The building, right? So internal and external landscaping, right? Porterage or purchasing or reception. There are many others. Reprographics and stationery, even up to stationery, right? There is a support service. Just imagine if there's no one supplying stationery for the organization, for UTM, for example. How can we do our job? Right? This may sound like, why stationery? Come on, don't you have pens and erasers or that correction tape or whatever? Why don't you have that? Why do we need to support? Why do we need somebody to provide that? Okay, support service. So this is a support service, right? So why do we need that? Okay, see, when you go to work, when you are employed, everything must be provided for you. The computers, right? All the stationery, your workstation has to be provided for you. You should not work in a company where you need to use your own computer. That is ridiculous. That is absurd. Right? You should not work in a company where you need to use your own pen, your own pencils, where you need to buy your own pens and pencils or erasers or whatever, right? They need to be provided for you, right? Which is why a company needs stationery service. So there must be a service provider for the stationery, right? Okay, so for stationery is a support service. The same goes with reprographics. That is basically printing, right? Printing service. right? Photocopy, right? An office needs to photocopy something, right? Occasionally, right? So what? Buy? Buy a photocopy machine and put it in the office? Why buy? Why do you need to buy? Because when you own it, when you buy it, what happens? Then the breakdowns and everything, when the cartridge is already, exhausted, then you have to purchase the cartridge yourself, or the toner, right? The toner, you have to purchase it yourself. When there's a breakdown, then you will have to call people to repair it. You have to bear the cost. And at one point, right, that particular machine, that photocopy machine, is going to be obsolete, right? So you have to buy a new one. Why? Right? We don't do that. Big companies, good companies, well-managed companies do not do that, right? We outsource it. We get a supplier, for example, Canon, for example, right? We ask them to supply photocopy machines, right, for our offices, right? So it's almost like a rent. We rent it from them, right? We rent the photocopy machine from them. So when the toner is exhausted, they will come and replace it. It's already included. The price is already included in the service, right? In the contract, right? It's already included. Okay. When there's a breakdown, then they will come and perform service. Well, usually they will not just when there's a breakdown, then they'll come. Okay, that is the reactive way, right? Remember, like I said, reactive or corrective maintenance. Now, what they do is they do preventive maintenance. So they come every once a month or twice a month. They will come, right? They will come and service your machine, right? This is not hire purchase, right? This is not hire purchase. We do not want hire purchase in this case. We just want to rent. That's all. Hire purchase means you pay monthly installments, and in the end, it becomes yours. We don't want that. The moment it becomes ours, then it becomes a burden, right? So we don't want that. We just want to rent it, and when we don't need it anymore, then we just terminate the contract according to whatever that is agreed upon in the contract, of course, right? Or perhaps there's a new machine, right? So we can just get rid of the old machine and replace it with a new one. The provider will provide the new machine, right? So yeah, that's what UTM been doing. Not with the reprographics, not the photocopy machine, but we've been doing that with our furniture for the hostels. The furniture that we have in the hostels, right? All your beds and your cupboards and your tables, they are not owned by UTM. They are provided by a service provider. UTM pays the rents to them, right? So we rent it from them for, let's say, 10 years. And after 10 years, they will take back those furnitures and replace it with a new one. So we always get good furniture, right? At least as good as it can be, right? Okay. We just cannot help it. Sometimes, students like to jump on the bed, or use the furniture in a very rough way, right? But at least UTM does not have to bear the cost of repair or service and things like that, maintenance and all, right? Because we outsource it. Okay, so that is support service. Okay, right? Support service. We need that service. Okay, and then there are also subsets of support service. This is what we call as support service specialization. For example, cleaning, kitchen cleaning, right? That is one specialization, right? Office cleaning is another specialization. You cannot ask those makcik cleaner, those aunties, right, doing office cleaning, right, to perform kitchen cleaning as well. They do not have the skills. They do not have the proper equipment. They do not have the proper cleaners, meaning the materials, all the chemicals to use, right? They don't have that. So you need a specialized cleaner for kitchen cleaning, specialized cleaner for office cleaning, right? Carpet and upholstery cleaning as well, right? Waste disposal, okay, right? You need a specialized service provider for waste disposal. Internal window cleaning, external window cleaning, two different things, two different specializations, right? Especially for the external window cleaning, right? If it's a high-rise building, right, 30 stories, right, So you need a highly skilled, right, a cleaner to clean the external window, right, because it's going to be on the outside of the building. Okay, internal window cleaning is slightly easier, perhaps, right? Okay, so it's different from external window cleaning. Okay, right, and then there are also subsets within the subsets, right? Okay, and a further specialization, like waste disposal. Okay, waste disposal, that's one specialization, and we can actually break that into a few other specializations. Office waste disposal, right? Kitchen waste disposal, right? They are not the same. So office waste disposal is one support service, right? Okay, usually office waste is what? Papers, what else? Paper clips or some wrappers, biscuit wrappers, uh, bottled waters, mineral water, the empty ones, right? Okay, bottles. Yeah, just perhaps those simple things to handle. Kitchen waste, different, right? You're dealing with organic things. Food waste, right? So there must be a certain way for you to handle that. Okay. Hospital waste is even worse, right? Okay. It's not easy for you to manage hospital waste, especially when it comes to highly contagious wards, right? Okay. So you need specialists to handle hospital waste. And in Malaysia, there are three. There are three service providers. These are FM companies, right? Okay, which specializes in hospital waste disposal, right? In the southern part of Peninsular Malaysia, the company which handles hospital waste is Pantai Manivest, right? In the mid part of Peninsular Malaysia, right? Okay, the company which is responsible for handling hospital waste is called Redicare, and the northern part is Faber, right? It's called Faber, right? So there are three companies in Peninsular Malaysia which handles hospital waste, right? So these are FM companies which specializes in hospital waste management. Okay, and then industrial waste, chemical waste, radioactive waste, right? Again, you require specialists to deal with these kinds of waste, right? So you will require a special kind of support service, right, to manage this waste for you, okay, right? Particularly radioactive waste, right? Okay, particularly that one. Also chemical and industrial waste, right? But radioactive waste is somewhat extra special. Okay, you require extra special skill, right? Okay, to handle radioactive waste, right? Okay, so in other words, right? Okay, FM and support services. FM is actually a support service. It is like a house, right? You must just imagine it's a house. So the name of the house is FM, right? So inside the house, right, you have so many support services from cleaning, security, safety and health, right, maintenance, right, waste management, and so forth, right? So basically, FM is a house of support services, right? Of course, right, we have the physical facilities, right, to maintain, to manage, right, to plan as well, right? Okay, that is the physical facilities, but also FM is a house of support service. FM provides support services for their client. Okay, right. Okay, so let's move on now to looking at the roles of FM. Okay, generic roles of facilities managers, right? Okay, or facilities management, right? Basically, there are 5 roles, right? To meet end user requirements, that's number 1. Okay, I'm not saying that that is the most important, not in any chronological order. Okay, right? The second one is to efficiently reduce facility-related costs. Okay, third one is to maintain business continuity, right? Okay, this is where we are going to have BCP, right? Business continuity plan, right? Any business, any company, any organization should have their own business continuity plan, and FM plays a role in the preparation of the BCP. Okay, And then ensuring legal and regulatory compliance. Okay, that's another one, another role of FM, and to support CSR, or corporate social responsibility, or better known as CSR. Okay, right? Okay, so let's go one by one. Okay, meeting end user requirement. Okay, meeting end user requirement, right? To meet end user requirement, okay, right? What one can do is actually to perform performance measurement, or perform the bigger name, right? The mother name is performance management, right? But performance management is mostly about performance measurement or performance measuring. So which is why I put here performance measuring. Okay, right? Because there are three parts. Okay, the planning, the execution, and the measurement. Right. Okay, so this holds a very big portion of performance management, which is why I put performance measuring there. Right. See, when you want to meet end user requirement, why? Because the facilities themselves, the support services and all, they are experienced by the end user. Like UTM, whatever that they provide for you, all the physical facilities, all the support services, right, that UTM provide for the students, they are experienced by you, the students, the end user, right? So in order for the company, right, to understand, in order for the facilities management department to understand whether the support services and the physical facilities are indeed meeting end user requirement, we need to measure the performance of the support services and the physical facilities. Right? It is like almost like carrying out some form of a user satisfaction study, right? Even though, if you were to ask me, user satisfaction studies are basically useless, right? It leads to nothing. Okay, user satisfaction studies are mostly carried out by companies just to show or to give an impression that they care. But the result of the user satisfaction study, is seldom used, right? People just cannot do anything with it, right? Due to the nature of, the survey itself, measuring satisfaction, right? So like questions like what, I am satisfied with the service provided by the library, for example. Choose 1 to 5, 5 being, strongly agree, 4 is agree, 3 is neutral, 2 is disagree, and 1 is strongly disagree. Right? And let's say, for example, the answer, let's say 75% says they disagree, meaning they are not satisfied, right? Okay. Then what? See, the thing is, it does not lead to information that can be used by the management to come up with the proper solution. So you're not satisfied about what? Right, 75% are not satisfied with the service. What aspect of the service are you not satisfied with? Right? Okay, so it's difficult, right? By using just user satisfaction surveys, right? So which is why what we do is we do not measure end user satisfaction. What we do is actually, right, we measure the performance of the service or the physical facilities based on the experience of the end user. So there will be no longer questions like, you are satisfied, are you happy, right? There will be no more questions like that, because questions like that will not help top management to make decisions, right? So you will now start asking about their experience. What about response time, waiting time, for example? Right? How long does it take, right? How long does it take for the maintenance team to come, and perform, to rectify the problem with the lift, for example? Let's say the lift is stuck. How long does it take for the response team to come, right? So things like that. That is how we measure performance, right, of the service in this case, right? So in order for you to measure performance, right, again, there are two two ways, right, for you to measure performance. The first one is by using the balanced scorecard, right? Okay, the balanced scorecard. This is where you measure performance by looking at 4 different perspectives, right? You measure performance by looking at financial performance, right? Customer satisfaction, internal business process, and employees, knowledge, and growth, right? See, 4 different perspectives, right? And you need to balance it. The financial one and the other 3. You have to balance it, right? So why does it call a balanced scorecard? Because it's balanced, right? Now, previously, back in the 80s, early 90s, well, early 90s and before that, right? Okay, a company, an organization will only look at their performance. They will only determine whether they are performing well or not performing well based on their financial performance. They don't look into customer satisfaction or the way they conduct the business or whether the employees are happy or not. They don't look into that, right? They only look at the financial aspect before the 90s. But suddenly, starting from I think somewhere in the 90s, right? Okay, there's these 2 people, right? Kaplan and Norton, right? Kaplan and Norton. They came up with what they call as the balanced scorecard, the most holistic way, right, to determine whether the company is actually performing well or not performing well, right? Whether in the FM context, whether the FM company is performing well or not performing well in terms of the delivery of support services, right? Okay, so the story goes, right? Okay, let's say the employee. We start with the employees first, right? You see, when employees knowledge and growth basically means we give the opportunity for our employees, for the employees to grow. Provide them with a good working environment, right? Allow them to grow, provide training, right? Give them the opportunity to further their studies, right? So that they can grow. Their career can grow. They can, their career in the company will be progressive, right? They won't just stick at one level forever, right? Okay, so make the employees happy, because happy employees will become more productive and innovative. And with productive and innovative employees, what will happen is the business process, the way the company conduct the business activities, right? Okay, will be conducted in a much more effective, efficient, and customer-friendly way, right? Because the employees are happy, right? Usually, employees which are not happy will not perform their job well, right? Okay, so when employees are happy, right, then they will do well in their job. Okay, so when the business process, right, is performed well, is carried out well, right, then what happens is the customers will be happy. Well, the customers will be happy with the service provided by the company, right? Or the product. Doesn't really matter if it's a product. It's a product. Happy, good employees will become more productive, right? More innovative, right? And they will take pride of what they produce, right? So if it's a product, right, let's say the company produces a product, then the product will be of high quality, right? So the customers will be happy. And happy customers will eventually lead to profit for the organization, because the customers will return, one, and the reputation of the company, right, will be spread out by happy customers. not just through advertising, but through happy customers. So in the end, right, the company will perform well financially, right? So which is why we need to look at a much more balanced, right, perspective when it comes to measuring performance of support services or a product, right, in that sense, right? And then we have post-occupancy evaluation, right? Now this is, or better known as POE, right? Post-occupancy evaluation, right? This is an approach that we usually use to measure performance of physical facilities, the performance of buildings, the performance of furniture, the performance of landscape, for example, right? So we use POE to do this, right? Okay, is the building performing well, right? Is the building causing the staff to be sick? Is the building conducive enough for the workers to become productive, right? So we use POE, or post-occupancy evaluation, to measure the performance of physical facilities, right? Which in the end will benefit the company in terms of money, in the end, right? Now, unfortunately, right? Okay, people still look at this as a priority. That's a problem. Okay, that's a problem. People still look at this as a priority, right? Even when we talk about the balanced scorecard, right? It is seldom balanced, right? When executed, when implemented, it is seldom balanced, right? They still will have more focus on the financial performance or the financial perspective rather than balancing the financial perspective with the other three, right? Okay, because it's just human nature, right? We like to look at something, judge something based on financial performance, right? Okay, so when financially the performance is good, then we will somehow have a much more positive perception, right, towards it, right? Okay, it's just human nature, right? Okay, I like to give a okay, I like to give a test. Okay, let's take for example. Okay, some of you say, no. I don't just look at money. I look at other things as well. Money is not the main thing. Money is not the main priority. Okay, let's put that to the test, right? Let's put that to the test. Now, just imagine now how many of you are here right now. Okay, there are 46 of you, right? 45, including me, 46. Okay, 45 of you now in the class, right? Now, just imagine one day you become a father or a mother, and you have a daughter, right? You have a daughter, right? And your daughter is already grown up, and she's ready to be married, okay? And there are basically there are two options here, right? There are two people that you can choose to become your son-in-law, right? Okay. Option A and option B, right? Okay, option A and option B. Now, option A, he's a very good person, very good, very nice person, very soft-spoken, well-behaved. My goodness, he's an angel, right? He's an angel, right? Okay. Honest, right? All the good things, right? Okay. He's just basically a total angel, right? Okay. What else? He's very handsome. Oh, goodness me. He is handsome, right? Very good looking, right? Okay. What kind of handsome? It depends on your taste, right? Okay. Let's take one example here. Handsome like Chris Hemsworth, right? Thor, right? Okay, yeah, something like that. Handsome, really handsome, right? Okay. Tall, right? Okay. Yeah, I'm not saying that short people are not handsome, but yeah, tall is good, right? Tall is good. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You do not want to have, the guy shorter than the girl. Okay. Okay. So very good person, honest and everything, very handsome. Okay. Very pious as well. Very pious. Right. Pious means very religious. Right. Very, not to say very religious, but basically have a very strong faith. Right. Strong faith towards goodness. Okay. If he's a Muslim, meaning he's a very pious Muslim. If he's a Buddhist, meaning he's a very pious Buddhist. If he's a Christian, he's a very pious Christian, right? If he's a Hindu, then he's a very pious Hindu. If he's an atheist, for example, then he is a very, very pious atheist, right? Okay. Yeah, so very good guy. Just one drawback. Just one drawback. His job is he mows grass, right? Right? He cuts grass, like the ones who come to your house. Do you want to cut your grass, please? May I cut your grass for 5 ringgit or 7 ringgit or 10 ringgit? Like that. Potong rumput, kerja potong rumput. Right? Okay, that is his job. So perhaps one day he can earn, like, I don't know how much. The most 50 ringgit a day, right? If it's a rainy day, then definitely no. And sometimes he only gets like 5 ringgit a day. It depends, right? Okay, it's not stable, right? Okay, so that is option A. Option B. Well, he's an okay person. He's not a bad person. By all means, he's not bad. He is not a bad person, right? But he's not as good as A, right? But he's not a bad one, right? He's no criminal. He doesn't lie to people, right? He doesn't he doesn't do bad things to other people, right? Quite honest, right? Okay, he's okay, right? He's okay, right? It's just nice, okay, but not as good as A, but just okay, right? Not that handsome, right? But he's okay. Not handsome like Chris Hemsworth, or well, not handsome, but not ugly. By all means, he's not ugly, but he's not handsome. He's somewhere in between, right? Somewhere in between. Okay. Yeah, not that pious, but again, not bad. He's not a bad person, right? But he's not that pious. If he's a Muslim, he does not perform perhaps five prayers a day, right? Muslims perform, a good pious Muslim perform prayers 5 times a day. This guy B, perhaps, yeah, 4 times or 3 times a day, right? Usually the dawn prayer, right? Okay, the one very early in the morning, 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. That one usually skip because he's always asleep, right? But well, not bad, not bad. It doesn't mean that he doesn't pray at all. Okay, if it's a Buddhist, right, it's not that pious, right? It doesn't go to the temple often, but yeah, okay, fine, uh, still okay. If it's a Christian, again, he doesn't go to church every Sunday. Or if it's a Hindu, he doesn't go to the temple every Friday night. But yeah, not bad, not bad, right? He's not a bad person, right? Okay, it's okay, okay. But he is a CEO of, let's say, Hewlett Packard, who earns somewhere around, I don't know, let's say somewhere around 50,000 USD a month times 4.2. That's like 200K ringgit Malaysia a month. So that is option B. Now, everybody, you are the parent, you are the mother or the father of your daughter, and there are 2 choices here. Either your daughter marries A or your daughter marries B. Now, honestly, everybody, please type in the chat section whether you choose A or B. Type it now. Yeah, keep it coming, keep it coming. I want to see the A. If there is an A, please, honestly, from your heart, right? But yeah, if there is an A, that would be very interesting. Any A's? No A's? Yeah, keep it coming. If it's a B, then it's a B. No problem. Right? I have my reason why I choose B. Alia, okay. I wonder what that reason might be. The CEO, perhaps? Yeah. Even the still innocent white paper like you guys, right? Okay. Uh, Still, right? You choose B. Now the thing is, right? I'm not saying that if you choose B, you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that if you choose B, you are like a gold digger or you look at status, right? Okay. No, I'm not saying that. It's just human nature. Like I said, we perceive the achievement, we perceive stability, right? We perceive performance through financial status or financial performance or financial achievement. So a CEO definitely earns much more, right? A would have to, my goodness, even if A were to work non-stop for a lifetime, he would not even earn the same money as the CEO in a month, right? Okay, so you're not wrong, you're not bad, right? You're just being human. Of course, there are people who may choose A, right? Yeah, those people may perhaps be like, I'm already rich. I'm already rich. I don't really care about money. A person who mows or cuts grass for a living, I don't mind. That is an honest job. I don't mind. And I don't have to really worry about my daughter, because I'm already rich and my daughter is already rich. Okay, I've already made sure that, my daughter is going to have a comfortable life in the future. So if let's say the husband is a person who mows grass, then let it be. And well, I don't really mind, and perhaps I know I can train him to, do other things, perhaps get involved in business or whatever. Some people may be like that if that they are rich, right? And usually they are those who are filthy rich who are like that. Those who are just rich but not filthy rich, usually they are not like that. Okay, right? They are just rich but not that rich. Well, they are millionaires perhaps, but not like multi millionaires. They are just millionaires, right? They are just rich compared to the others. Usually they are not like that. The character is slightly different. Okay, but those who are multimillionaires, they don't even care whether you work or you don't work, right? Okay, right? As long as you're good, if you're a good person, and that's it. But for ordinary people like us, called Homo sapiens, right? Okay, then we usually choose B, right? We usually choose B. So, which is why, again, if you relate that back, okay, to what we've been discussing right now, okay, the balance scorecard, right? Okay, um, people still focus on financial performance because that's human nature, right? So even for the big companies, right, it's the same thing. Okay, they look at that as the first and foremost important indicator to determine whether they are performing well or not performing well. So they still look at the financial performance, right? But right, what you have to know is that that is not the most accurate way of depicting the performance of the company, right? You need to have a more balanced approach, right? You need to consider the other three, right? Customer satisfaction, internal business process, and employees' knowledge and growth, right? Okay, so that's number one. Okay, thank you for the participation, right? Okay. Secondly, is applying the AGIR approach to planning, right? To meet end user requirement, we need to apply the AGIR or the group in a room approach to planning. You see, there are two approaches in planning. One is called AGIR, and the other one is called OMOM, right? OMOM. OMOM stands for one man on a mountain, right? So as the name suggests, imagine there's a mountain there, right? And well, this guy sits on the mountain alone. He looks at things 360 degrees, right? He's the leader, he's the boss, and he makes his own decision. And he decrees right? He decrees, right? Meaning to instruct, decree everyone to follow his vision, whatever that he has decided. It is a much more autocratic approach, right? Right? Autocratic approach compared to Agir, which is a more democratic approach. This is autocratic, this one is democratic, right? Dictators like to use OMOM, right? Dictators, right? They like to use the OMOM approach to planning. Now, I'm not saying that the OMOM approach is bad. In the right hands, the OMOM approach can be a much more effective, efficient approach to planning compared to Agir. But it depends on the person who's wielding it, right? A person who is very wise, has good, wisdom, who has wisdom, then uh, usually, when if they use the OMOM approach, right, in planning, then they will come up with magnificent plans, which leads to great results, right? Okay, to name a few, right? Okay, people like Tun Mahathir, for example, right? Okay, I'm not talking about politics here, whether you agree in terms of Mahathir's politics or not. We are not talking about politics in class, right? Okay, I have no interest in politics, right? And what I'm talking about here is the ability of Tun Mahathir, right, to utilize the OMOM approach of planning, right? Okay, to have um, a much wider view of things, right? To look forward, right, far into the future, which led to Malaysia being what it is now. Okay, when Tun Mahathir took over the premiership from Tun Hussein on, right? Okay, Malaysia was still an agricultural country. We are still considered to be a poor country at that time, right? Okay, our main economy comes from agriculture, right? We were not known anywhere in the world except for perhaps the British by the British, but for the rest of the world, Malaysia is Malaysia. Never heard of it, or Malaysia, or where is Malaysia, right? Something like that. Okay. And when Tun Mahathir took over, right, he transformed Malaysia by making Malaysia an industrial country. So becoming an industrial country means that we have to adopt new technologies, right? New technologies. And he started off with proton, right? He started off with proton, even though we did not actually, proton cars is not really uh, ours in the sense that we do not make proton, right? Proton is actually Mitsubishi, right? Okay, it's a Mitsubishi car. We just changed the batch, but by doing so, right, we adopt the technology, we learn from it, up to one point until Proton can design their own cars, right? And including others as well, right? There are many other ventures as well, which makes Malaysia grew to what it is now, right? So he's the one, right? At that time when he was quite young at the time, he made that decision, right? He stood alone and made that decision, and he came up with the 2020, the Vision 2020, right? Even though it was not realized, right? Whether it was realized or not, that's not important. But once he set, right, the Vision 2020 back in 1991, he said it in the year 1991, right? Vision 2020, right? And because of that, we have been preparing our country to achieve Vision 2020. We worked towards it, even though in the end we didn't achieve it. But because we worked for it, we prepared for it, right? We are what we are now, right? We are what we are now in just like 30 years, right? Which is basically something that can be proud of, right? Malaysia is now known all over the world. Okay, so under a person like Tun Mahathir, right? Okay, the OMOM approach can be very powerful. Another one would be like Steve Jobs, right? Okay, the founder of Apple, right? Different from Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates is a much more democratic kind of guy. Okay, he listens to people, he discusses with people. Steve Jobs was a much more autocratic kind of guy, right? He sits alone, right, and he makes decisions, right? Okay, even though he stumbled along the way, right? He was kicked out of Apple at one point, right? Okay, but he came back with new innovations. He saw a new future and all, and he made Apple to what it is now, right? Okay, so yeah, the Obama approach can be very powerful, right? If right it is being handled by the right person. Unfortunately, there have been many cases where the Obama approach is being used by people who do not have the wisdom or not wise enough, right? Like Mahathir or Steve Jobs. They feel that they are wise, but they're actually not. And what happens is when they come up with a plan, right, for the company, what happens is many people are not happy. Many people are not happy with the plan, right? And when people are not happy, they don't perform, right? In the end, it's an organization, it's a company which will have to, bear the cost, right? So by using Agir, right? Okay, Agir, it is much safer, right? Because it's more democratic. You have to discuss with the stakeholders, not the shareholders, but the stakeholders. Shareholders are different, right? Shareholders are people who hold a share in the company, right? Okay. Stakeholders are people who are affected by any decision made by the company. That is a stakeholder, right? So the stakeholder involves whom? The top management up to, well, the cleaners, right? The cleaners are the stakeholders as well, right? Okay, everybody. So by using the Agir approach, we need to discuss with them when we are doing our plan, right? When we are planning, we discuss with all levels, right? All levels of people in the organization. Of course, we cannot discuss with everybody, right? Okay, a big organization may have like 2,000 or 3,000 people, right? We cannot discuss with all 2,000 or 3,000, but we will discuss with their representatives, right? To come up with the most conducive plan that meets end user requirement. Who are the end users? Everybody. Everybody in the organizations are the end users, right? So involve them, right? So that we can meet their expectation, okay? Right? So that is for meeting end user requirement, okay? Right? Okay, just a bit more, right? Give me like 2 or 3 minutes, okay, to finish this second slide, okay? Now, the second role of an FM is to reduce facility-related costs. You already know that. And how do we achieve that? How do we reduce facility-related costs efficiently? Again, by doing performance measurement, performance measuring. Again, by using the balance scorecard and post-occupancy evaluation, right? Okay, by using the balance scorecard and post-occupancy evaluation, right, we can efficiently reduce facility-related costs. We can determine, right, how can we reduce costs? Okay, that's one. Okay, that's one way. The other way is by using lifecycle costing, or LCC, right? Lifecycle costing, or LCC. It is the most powerful way, right, to determine how the facilities, right, are eating up money throughout its life cycle, right? So we can determine where can we cut costs efficiently, right? LCC is very important, right? It's very important, right? Yeah, and it's not really that simple to do, right? It's not really that simple to do LCC, right? Okay, there are a few lecturers in our faculty who are very well versed when it comes to LCC. One of them will be Dr. Rohaya. You don't know here. She's a lecturer in the Department of Real Estate, but originally she comes from the Treasury Department. Right? She's an accountant before this, right? Before she became a lecturer in facilities management, specializing in facilities economics, right? So LCC is part of her expertise. Okay? So life cycle costing, definitely very important. And then understanding the impact of people, place, process, and technology towards cost, particularly people, right? You need to understand that, okay? Understand how people give an impact towards cost, right? Okay, because you see, a building can be designed in such a way, saying that, oh, the building is very cost effective, right? Especially like green buildings, for example, green, you know, green buildings, right? Okay, green buildings, right? Supposed to be a very cost effective during the operational stage, but that is during simulation. During occupancy, is a totally different story. We have one green building in Tanjung Pelepas, Johor, right? There's a green building there, the first government green building in Malaysia, right? Okay. And as green building goes, right? Green buildings are supposed to be very cost effective when it comes to maintenance and operations, right? The operations cost is low, right? For green buildings, supposed to be, right? But in the end, it didn't happen that way, right? Because green buildings, government green buildings, are set to have their air conditioning, right, set at 24 degrees Celsius. And as we know, green buildings are mostly, right, the facade of the green building or the envelope of the green building usually consists of, they are made of glass panels to maximize the penetration of natural daylighting so that we can reduce the use of artificial lighting, right? So light or the sun, right, comes in, not just with the light, they bring over heat as well, right? So when there's too much heat, plus air conditioning set at 24 degrees Celsius, the green building in Tanjung Pelepas becomes very warm inside. So what did the employees do? They bring on their own table fan from home. So when you enter the office, you will find on the tables of each of those employees, they would have table fans brought from home. And when the office is full of table fans, what happens to the electricity cost, the electricity bill? It goes up. So in the end, the operations cost goes up. So it beats the purpose. So that's why you need to understand the impact of people, what they need towards cost. Even though the building was designed to be very cost effective, when people come in, then definitely there's going to be an impact towards cost, right? Place, that's another one, right? Okay, determine the place. Of course, the premise itself, what kind of premise and where is it located, right? I'll give you one very good example. Lim Kok Wing University, right? I worked there before, right? I was a lecturer there before, right? Lim Kok Wing University. Where is it? It is in Cyberjaya. If you've been to Cyberjaya, you would know that Cyberjaya is a very arid place, right? It's very hot, right? It's very hot in Cyberjaya. And Lim Kok Wing University, the building is black. The color of the building is black, right? And the staff have to wear black. We wear black every single day, right? So with black clothing inside a black painted building in Cyberjaya, right? Definitely it's going to be hot. So what we do is we turn on the air conditioning to its maximum level, full blast. So what happens to the electricity cost? It goes up. So the impact of place towards cost, right? The work process towards cost and technology towards cost, right? So we need to understand the impact of the 4 FM components toward cost, right? Okay. Now, in our next class, right, I'm going to show you a video. Please remind me, right? Okay, if I forget, I'm going to show you a video that relates to this, okay, right? How we plan, right, by looking into people, place, process, and technology, right? Okay, that is for our next class. Okay, for at least for today, we will stop here. Okay, let me just stop presenting. Bring you back here to my main screen. Okay, So I think that's it then for today. Any questions? I don't believe so. Let me just stop recording before I forget. Hold on. Stop recording. Okay. Right. No questions, I believe. Right. Yeah, no questions. Okay, so let us stop here. Thank you for attending the class. Right, thank you for coming. Right, and I will see you guys next week then, okay, as usual on Wednesday. So be safe and stay safe, right? And see you guys next week. Assalamualaikum. Right. Bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
You got the
Bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Bye bye.